In this video I'm going to be talking about DLC, but more specifically DLC trophies, and why I'm kind of really not in favour of them, and why if they didn't exist I probably would be a happy man. So firstly, there is plenty of pros and benefits to DLC being regularly released for games that you love. You get to spend more time with those games, you get to experience more ideas from the developers, and you just generally have a great time. Some of my favourite games like Skyrim, Witcher 3 and Spider-Man 2018 all had DLC, which I thought on the most part was all really good, and it really benefited the base game and just made the experience so much better, and I got to spend more time with my favourite games. Not only that, some of the DLC added to certain games added new challenges, new difficulties, which I think is really cool. And I think, for example, Uncharted introduced speed trophies, speedrun trophies to Uncharted 1, 2 and 3, so you get to play those games in a completely different way, in a way most people would have never played. I haven't done them personally, but I would have never thought of doing speedrun of Uncharted, but now that those trophies are there, it's always in the back of my mind, like, do I actually want to go for it? It is possible, so let's go for it. Also as well, new difficulties like Uncharted introduced a brutal mode, which again added another level of difficulty to players if they enjoyed it. However, there is a lot of cons with DLC trophies in particular, so those pros were mainly centered around DLC, not DLC trophies, and that's because I think DLC trophies kind of can be a bit frustrating for certain types of gamers. And when I'm making this video, obviously I'm referring to trophy hunters and completionists, people who want to play, get all the trophies they can in the games that they play. Most gamers who actually play don't care about trophies at all, and it often makes you wonder what the actual aim is of the developers when they're adding more and more trophies to their games, because really most people aren't going to go for them anyway, and the niche who do go for them find it a little bit frustrating, and there's a few reasons why. Firstly, DLC generally is overpriced. Yes, some games add massive expansions to their games like XCOM, War of the Chosen, but other times they don't add that much detail. I mean, the story linear games like The Witcher 3 and Skyrim, I can't sit here and say they didn't add so much content to their games, but they are overly priced. Fallout 4, the DLC pack full price is still like £40, considering you can buy the game for £5, and you can buy the Game of the Year edition for £15–20, but the actual, if you were to buy it from the store, it would be £40, which I think is so much money, especially when you never get the amount of content that's usually in the base game. If you're getting more content from the DLC than the base game, there's something definitely wrong with that game. And although new content is great, how much of it is actually like thought out, detailed content? Because a lot of games nowadays, AAA games more particularly, that release content, new DLC, they tend to just add more and more fluff to games that are already pretty fluffy. I can't not mention Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Valhalla has had even more DLC released, and I think the base game is about 100 hours, 150 hours, and now you're looking at easy 250 hours, 300 hours to get the 100% on that Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And me personally, who games probably more than the average person, but not as much as some, it would take me like 4 months of the year to do every single trophy in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And you have to ask yourself, firstly, is the game good enough to warrant that amount of time commitment? We also have games that release DLC continuously, which I think can be a bit frustrating for a few reasons. Firstly, I don't know about you, but when I finish a game, I'm ready to move on. I feel like when I've earned the Platinum Trophy, I've done everything that the game has to offer. If there's DLC at the time, I'll play that as well and do everything that the game has to offer to me at that time. But I like to move on and experience new games, new genres. And when there's new trophies coming out for games I've previously played, I feel kind of compelled to go back and revisit those games. And you know, that doesn't apply to everybody. Some people aren't as much of a completionist as me, and I have left games in the past. For example, Maneater has some DLC, and Watch Dogs Legion. And Watch Dogs Legion had a silver trophy DLC pack for just doing the game on the hardest difficulty. Yes, there was some other stuff, which was an additional story, the Bloodline DLC, which was decent. The game was poor, but that DLC was actually pretty good. But this additional trophy, which was free, but it's like, yes, you've added a new difficulty to your game. Do you need to add a trophy as well? Because it's a silver trophy, it's going to take you 30 hours, and I just decided that 30 hours of my life was not worth going for that one silver trophy. But it did frustrate me that now I don't have 100% completion on Watch Dogs Legion, and who is it for? Who is that actual trophy for? Because people who love that game so much, if you're out there, if there's anybody out there who loved the game so much they would be prepared to play the new game on the hardest difficulty, that they would do it anyway. But other people who kind of aren't that bothered about the game, I very much doubt they're going to dip in to play the game again for one silver trophy, which is just a new difficulty when nothing's actually changed in the game, it's just a little bit harder. Sometimes developers will have a linear story game and they will add multiplayer to the game and then add multiplayer trophies to the game. The one that comes to mind is Resident Evil 6. Yes, that game had cooperative play, PvE, but they decided to add multiplayer to it, and that was the bane of my life, quite frankly, the game modes were terrible. There's all these trophies linked to like really excessive amounts of playing in the game. I think it was about 30 hours to do all the DLC trophies on multiplayer, and I had to boost a lot of it because there was nobody playing the game at all. And it makes you wonder, like, if there's multiplayer and people are going to play it, let them play it, but don't tie it to trophies when nobody really cares anyway, and you kind of just ruin it for the people who do care. There is 16 DLC trophy packs for Batman Arkham Knight, each adding a different playable character in a different challenge mode, or more challenges to the challenge mode that's already established within the game. And it is pretty insane. There's more trophies in the DLC than there is in the base game, and if you were to go through all of that, you're looking at 150, 200 hours, and it's so much. And again, I just think if someone was going to play it, if someone loved it enough to jump in, they would have played it anyway. They did not need that incentive of extra trophies to actually do it. Yes, people will say, well, earning those trophies is a sign of you finished the whole game, but I just don't think they really need to be in there. And I'm going to give it like a shout out to Avengers, made by Square Enix Crystal Dynamics. They've released new characters, you know, a couple times throughout the year, and they decided not to add new trophies. And I have to say, I am so thankful that they didn't, because I was sick of that game. It wasn't a great game, and if I had to jump back into that game for another 30-40 hours for like hundreds of points worth of trophies, I would have been so frustrated at myself for doing so. And I don't think I would have done it, but again, it would have affected my completion percentage, it would have affected my completion of the actual game, and I wouldn't have felt like I truly finished the game. And if somebody wants to do that, it can be a little bit, like, you know, upsetting somewhat. So to wrap up, do I think DLC trophies should actually exist at all? I mean, in short, no. There can be exceptions, of course, when a game adds such a big amount of content to their games that the trophies are worth being there. Things like, to be fair, I've already mentioned Fallout 4, but they added a lot of DLC to their game, as well as XCOM 2, they added the Path of the Chosen to their game, and as well as The Last of Us Left Behind was a DLC, and these were all such big changes to the game. I don't think there's anything wrong with adding trophies to that, because you have to play the game in such a different way. But do you need to add all the extra trophies for things like doing more collectibles, doing more miscellaneous stuff, doing the New Game Plus? Again, New Game Plus is one of those things where if a game's good enough, someone will play it again. But you don't need a trophy for that, because it's just excessive amounts of trophies for trophy hunters, which just is not great for us guys. So in short, no, I don't actually like DLC trophies too much. I think they probably shouldn't be in the game. They should just be like, look, okay, here's your platinum. If you want to play your DLC, that's great. We've made you DLC. You will enjoy it. There doesn't need to be trophies tied to those DLC, because no one really plays them. The people who love the game will play it anyway. Most gamers don't care about trophies, so will not do them. And it just means that the trophy hunters who actually care about their completion percentages are heavily penalised. And I ain't about that life. Okay, so those are my thoughts on DLC trophies. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And do not forget to check out Discord, and if you'd like to support me, you can check out my Patreon. Take it easy.